So for the top left one, we're going to get rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the letter but not touching it. That's the positive 7. So we're going to subtract 7 on both sides. And that's going to give us y over negative 6 equals negative 3. The opposite or inverse of division is multiplication. So we're going to multiply both sides by negative 6 because anytime you see a fraction, you think of division. So the opposite or the inverse is multiplication, and that gives us y equals 18. Now we should check our answer. I'm only going to do it for this very first question. We're going to put 18 into the original equation, and we want to make sure that this is a true statement. So 18 divided by negative 6 plus 7 better equal 4. Well, 18 divided by negative 6 is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 7 does equal 4. So we can give that the unofficial but universally liked smiley face. The next one, notice how the fraction is a little bit different. That the positive 8 is on the same side of the letter, but it's not. But it's part of the numerator. So if I had to write this out long way, this would actually read as x plus 8 in parentheses divided by 5. But nobody wants to see that, so we write it like we do there in the middle. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5 first in this one. That gives us x plus 8 equals 20. And then, of course, the opposite or inverse of adding 8 is subtracting 8. And that gives us x equals 12. The next one, I prefer to combine like terms first. So the negative 3m and the positive 5m make 2m. And then we have a positive 8 and a positive 10, which add up to be 18. And we have the equals 34. Now we get rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the letter, but not touching it. That's the positive 18, so we do the opposite, or the inverse, which is subtracting 18 on both sides. That gives us 2m equals 16. 2m means 2 times m, so we do the opposite, which is division. Normally we write that with a little division sign, but I'm going to use the obelisk, and that gives us m equals 8. So go ahead and pause it if you need to, because I'm going to go on to the next page. So the one on the left, let's combine like terms that are on the same side. So that would be the negative 10 and a positive 20, which make a positive 10. So we have 6 minus 2x equals 6x plus 10. Different ways you could approach this problem now. You could either subtract 6, you could add 2x to both sides, you could subtract 6x from both sides, or you could subtract 10. That's all up to you. My personal preference is to move the letters to the left side. So the opposite or inverse of a positive 6x is a negative 6x. So we subtract 6x on both sides. And that's going to give us 6 minus 8x, negative 2x, and a negative 6x is negative 8x equals 10. Now we get rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the letter but not touching it. That's that positive 6 right here. So the opposite of that is negative 6. Now we have negative 8x equals 4. And then we divide both sides by negative 8. And 4 divided by negative 8, we can write that as a fraction, but you may want to simplify that to be negative 1/2 or even negative 0.5. On the next one, we got more to combine on this one. 5y and a y. There's a 1 right there, even though we don't see it. So 5y plus 1y is 6y. So we have 6y minus 3 on the left side. On the right side, an 8y and a positive 2y make 10y. And we have a positive 10 and a positive 13 go together to make positive 23. So again, just like the previous problem, we could do the opposite or inverse of any of these things. I could subtract 6y, I could add 3, I could subtract 10y, or I could subtract 23. My personal preference is to move the letters to the left side first, but this time I'm going to add 3 just for no particular reason. I'm going to do what a lot of students like to do, which is totally fine and perfectly correct. I'm going to get rid of the stuff on the left side. That's not the letter. So we add 3. That gives us 6y equals 10y plus 26. Now we subtract 10y, preferably. send this, move all the letters to the same side. 6y minus 10y is negative 4y equals 26. And it looks like we're going to have a fun little fraction here. When we divide both sides by negative 4, that's going to give us y equals 26 over negative 4. If I use my calculator, just to get a decimal for that, that's going to be negative 6.5. Your answer probably will be acceptable if you put that in there. Or if we want to simplify that fraction, we would divide both sides by 2, or top and bottom by 2, and that would give us y equals 13 over negative 2 as our answer. So go ahead and pause it if you need to, because I'm going to clear everything out. So Carrie went shopping, and she purchased 4 shirts that had a total cost of $50. And then Carrie also purchased 3 coats. The total cost was $110. There's no tax involved. So we're going to write an equation that models this information, and then we're going to find the cost of the coats. So it might be kind of deceptive at first because we see maybe a extra kind of variable in there that's not really a variable at all. We know that 4 shirts cost $50. So we're looking at shirts. She went to the store and bought shirts plus coats, and she spent $110 on that. But we know that the 4 shirts cost $50, so we can just put that in there for the shirt. So it's really 50 plus, let's use C for the coats. And we know that she bought 3 of them, so we'll put 3C equals 110. That's our equation. Then to solve that, we get rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the letter, but not touching it. So we're going to subtract 50 on both sides. That gives us 3C equals 60. And then we would divide both sides by 3, and this time I am going to use the fraction. And that means that Carrie spent $20 per coat, assuming everything was the same price. And if you need any more time, go ahead and clear this up. I'm going to clear this off. Back to the algebra. When we see on the left side, even though it says a negative right there in front of the parentheses, it's really a negative 1. So we need to distribute that negative 1. So negative 1 times x is negative 1x. And negative 1 times negative 4 is a positive 4. Be careful with the negatives. I'm going to rewrite the left side. Now, this looks like a problem similar to the one on the couple pages ago. I'm going to move all the x's to the left side, so the opposite of a negative 1x is to add 1x on both sides. 5x plus 1x is 6x. So we have 6x plus 3 equals 4. Then I get rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the letter by not touching it. That'd be the negative or positive 3, so the opposite is subtracting 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. That's going to equal 6x. And this time we divide by 6. And our answer actually will be x equals 1/6. And you should not try to change this to a decimal because the decimal goes on forever. But it is a rational number because it is a fraction. Same idea on this next one. Put a little negative 1 right there. Now I'm going to distribute it. So negative 1 times 7y is negative 7y. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. And then on the right side or left side of the equation, we have y over 2 plus 4. Next, I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. Negative y over 2 equals negative 7y minus 9. There's different ways you could approach this. I don't like the fraction there. So I'm going to multiply everything right now by 2. Everything by 2. Just to get rid of it. And then again, there's different ways you could approach this. But if I multiply everything by 2, that gives us negative y equals negative 14y minus 18. Now I'm going to add 14y to both sides. Get all my letters to the left side. That's a negative 1y right there. So when I add them up, negative 1 plus 14 is 13. So we have 13y equals negative 18. And then we would divide both sides by 13. Sorry about the lack of room there. And that would give us the answer of y equals negative 18 over 13 as our answer. Go ahead and pause it if you need more time. Same idea for this next one. We're going to distribute the negative 2 so that we have negative 6x plus 12 equals negative 2x plus 16. I'm going to move all my letters to the left side, so the opposite or inverse of negative 2x is to add 2x to both sides. Negative 6x plus 2x is negative 4x. Negative 4x plus 12 equals 16. Now we're going to get rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the letter but not touching it. That's the positive 12. So we subtract 12. That gives us negative 4x equals 4. And then we can divide both sides by negative 4. And x equals negative 1. And again, for all of these, you can put in your answer into the original equation to make sure that it matches. The one here on the top right, negative, I've got parentheses on both sides, but we've got a little negative 1 right there. So we're going to do negative 1 times y, which is negative 1y. Negative 1 times a positive 9 gives us a negative 9. 3 times 2y is 6y. And 3 times 4 is 12. This time I'm just going to subtract the 9 first. Or, I'm sorry, do the opposite. I'm going to get rid of this first. The opposite or inverse of subtracting 9 is to add 9 to both sides. That gives us negative 1y equals 6y plus 21. Now I'm going to move all my letters to the left side. Inverse of positive 6y is a negative 6y. Negative 1y minus 6y is negative 7y. That's going to equal 21. And then finally, we divide both sides by negative 7. And that's going to give us y equals negative 3. So if you need more time, go ahead and pause it because I'm going to clear this out. Here we got some inequalities. We're going to get a quick reminder of when we flip the inequality. These are almost like solving equations. So for the one on the left, we get rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the letter but not touching it. Opposite of a positive 7 is subtracting 7. So that gives us 5a is greater than or equal to 20. Then we would divide both sides by 5. And that's going to give us a is greater than or equal to 4. So on a number line, we would fill in that circle at 4. And we're going to color it the same way that the arrow's pointing, assuming that the letter's on the left side. The next one, now we got some negatives. So we get rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the letter but not touching it. So the opposite of adding 8 is to subtract 8. That gives us a negative 2b. It's greater than or equal to 32. And we're going to divide by negative 2. When you multiply or divide and the negative was on the same side of the letter when you did it, you flip the inequality symbol. So this becomes a less than or equal to negative 16. So on a number line, we would color it in at negative 16. And it's going to go to the left. This last question on this page, get rid of the stuff that's on the same side of the letter by not touching it. That's going to be adding 2 then to both sides. That would give us h over 5 is less than negative 6. We multiply both sides by 5. We do not flip the inequality because the negative was not on the same side of the letter when we multiply or divide. So h is less than negative 30, and on my terrible number line, open circle at negative 30, and then we're going to color it in to the left, the same way the arrow's pointing, or the inequality is pointing. If you need more time, go ahead and pause it.